The Immersive Reader tool is a free tool that comes with Microsoft Office 365 that implements proven techniques to improve reading and writing for individuals. For reading, it includes features that can reduce visual crowding, highlight text, break words into syllables, read text aloud, and provide visual references. For writing, such features include dictation and again read aloud, so students can hear their work read back to them, providing them essential feedback to edit their work and then clearly communicate their ideas to others. Okay, so we'll jump straight in. So I've got a document open in Microsoft Word for Office 365. So simply to access the Immersive Reader tool, we click on the View tab up on the toolbar, and it's there just off the left hand side. So if we click on Immersive Reader, then the toolbar will then change to show you what tools are actually included in this particular function. You will have noticed too that the layout of the Word document has changed as well to be a narrower version of the original width. Now this is due to the first tool up on the toolbar, which is called column width. So if I click on the drop down option here, you can see that there are 4 options. By default, it will always go to narrow, but you have 3 further options. If you go to very narrow, this will then go to almost a mobile phone version of that particular document. So it's much more narrower. It should aid focus of reading, so the eyes won't have to track and scan too far across the page. But there are also 2 further options, which are moderate, which is more like essentially a normal Word document, or indeed wide for students that just may prefer a wider page. So I'm just going to change my column width back to the default narrow, and we'll move on to the next tool, which is the page color. Now this is for students or individuals with screen sensitivity that find the contrast between the 2 colors of the default black and white not particularly comfortable to view, or not particularly comfortable to view for long periods. So they can scroll through these simply by hovering over them to see which one that they are most comfortable with, or they could also go onto the more colors option and insert their own RGB code if they have got a particular combination of RGB that they prefer to use. If I just cancel that and then go back up, the top 4 are the most common. So you've got the black on white, you've got the night view, which is essentially a contrast view, so obviously white text and black background. This can be great for working late at night for less stress on the eyes. Sepia and grey, again for reducing that intensity on the eyes. Okay, so I'm just going to change my page color back to white, or black text on white, and then we'll move on to the next tool in the Immersive Reader. So this is line focus. Again, another tool to aid with concentration or focus on the particular document or particular sections of the document. So when I click on the drop down, you'll see there's 4 options. By default, none is selected, so no line focus, or there is 1 line, 3 lines, or 5 lines. So if I click on the 3 line option, you'll see what the tool does, and it dims out sections of the page so the reader can concentrate on just, in this particular instance, 3 lines at a time. So that will aid concentration and aid focus, so they won't lose their place on the page. And as you scroll down with the mouse, it will scroll down as you read, so you should be able to control how much information that you're absorbing at any one time. If we then choose the 1 line option, same thing, and then finally the 5 line option. Okay, so I'll just turn the line focus off before we move on to the next tool. The next 2, text spacing and syllables, pretty much work hand in hand. They are really great way to space out words so they are easier to absorb, easier to understand, in particular when learning new terminology or new vocabulary. These are two great tools that students or individuals can use to really break down words and absorb the information better. So if we click on text spacing, instantly you can see then that there's more separation, obviously, in between each individual word, but then at the same time in between each line and each individual letter as well. So for somebody with learning difficulties or neurodiversity, this would be much easier to understand. And you can go a step further by actually breaking words down into syllables as well, as it inserts small dots in between each of the syllables. So again, with new terminology or new vocab, it would be much easier to understand what makes up that word, and then obviously much easier to then absorb that information and retain it. So I'm going to leave those settings on as they are and move on to the next tool, which is the Read Aloud tool, which is essentially text to speech. So there is a voice that will play back the text on the page. This can be great for note taking without obviously having to read, for students that find reading difficult, for improving words recognition, helping comprehension of new vocabulary, new words, and just text in general, and also for revision purposes. So for listening back to information to absorb it in a different way than just reading it, and obviously finally for proofing your own work. So very simply, we just click on the Read Aloud tool. A new toolbar comes up on the top right hand side that's got a play button, skip forward, skip back, and settings. If we click on settings, first and foremost, we can then choose from one of three voices. So there's George, Hazel, and Susan, but I'm just not going to change that. Leave it set as Susan. And then if I click into the document and then click on play, it will then start to read back.
Iskafeld, as the historic town of Sheffield was called at the time of Domesday Book 1086, was an Anglo-Saxon village. It became the site of a castle ADN, a parish church built by the Norman Lord William de Lovat early in the 12th.
Okay, so as you can see there, it highlights each individual word as it plays back, which is great for, again, increased recognition of words. And as you can see as well, there was two errors that were really obvious in the playback. So going back to what I said previously about proofing your own work, it really is obvious when a word has obviously been spelled incorrectly, or there's been incorrect grammar used. Now, this can be really effective when used in tandem with the line focus as well, to really focus the individual's attention on the page and the particular words that are highlighted as it scrolls through. So I'm just going to put the line focus back on. And if we go back up to the top and then click on this again, it really does focus the attention much better than it just being the text just read through on the page.
Iskafeld, as the historic town of Sheffield was called at the time of Domesday Book 1086, was an Anglo-Saxon village.
Okay, so that is it for the immersive reader tools. There's one more tool that I'd like to show you quickly. So if we close the immersive reader and we go back into the normal view, which is this, and we go to the home tab, which it should do by default, and there's a tool here on the right hand side that's called Dictate, and this, as you may guess, is a dictation tool that you can click into a Word document and start to dictate. You have to use a slow, clear and pronounced voice for it to be accurate, but it's pretty good. So if I click into the Word document now and click on to dictate, I am now dictating into Microsoft Word in a clear and pronounced voice. And as you can see, it is transcribing my words accurately. Full stop. New paragraph. As you can see, it will also understand basic commands, so you can format your document properly. Full stop. And then to turn it off, we simply go back to the Dictate tool on the toolbar and hit the red button to stop it. Just to mention at this point in time as well, I am dictating just into my laptop microphone, so you don't have to have a headset. And as you can see, with just using my laptop microphone, the dictation is very accurate.